Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Welcome to another Succulent Sunday. Today I'm going to be working on these two Jades. These two Jades are grown from cuttings. This large cutting was given to me by Joey and this one by Connor. Both these Jades are growing really well. I've done some styling to the one that was given to me by Joey, and the one from Connor is untouched other than potting it up. My goal today is to do the initial styling work on the one given to me by Connor, and then the one given to me by Joey. I want to prune it back. It's getting very tall and very heavy up top. You can see if you wiggle the top, the whole base of the tree wiggles. It's a bit unstable. And everything on this tree is kind of grown very upright, reaching for the light. So, yeah, there's going to be some styling work coming on both trees. We did get some rain this morning, but it's turned back to a sunny, hot day. Let's go in the greenhouse here. So, up here I have the other Joey Jade, the one that's a baobab style. And I really like that style. Let's go have a closer look at it. Here's a look at that Jade. So it's very short, has branches. It's quite nice looking and looks very unique. I really like it. It is a possibility that I could style the one from Connor in that same kind of style, because you can see there was a branch taken off here, and from that cut point there's all kinds of new foliage that's come out, branches that have come out here. So to do that style I would have to cut off this long branch here, cut it back to a stump and have stuff, well, new branches sprout out from that. And over here I would also have to cut this off at a certain point and have new foliage come out. That would reduce the tree down to about that height with all kinds of foliage up top, so kind of a canopy. That similar kind of baobab styling. I like that style because it makes the trunk look really powerful, and you know, the maintenance on it is fairly easy. You've just got to keep your kind of umbrella shaped canopy. It doesn't create this giant jade tree. Like right now it's quite large and it takes up a lot of space in the plant room, and I don't have a lot of space. And I'm thinking, you know, right now it looks like a jade you'd buy in any nursery. It's kind of tall and upright, even though this one is very, very old with the cracked bark. And I hate to cut off, you know, a branch that has this aged bark on it, but it's only really, you know, these top two branches are fairly new looking, and this one to the side is fairly new looking. There's a bit of cracking at the base, and same here. So I could keep all the good cracked bark sections of this tree, keep all its best features, and prune away all the newer growth. And there would be some pretty good cuttings I could give away from this tree. So that's a possibility on this one, is to get that baobab style. I think it would look pretty good, and it would be a more manageable size bonsai for me. On the other one that was given to me by Joey, I think a similar style is in order. It is very tall and it takes up a lot of space, this tree. Not only does it take up space, but it casts a lot of shadows in the plant room in the winter. So I'm thinking this one also, I know I said I wasn't going to do this on this tree, but I'm also thinking I've got a branch here that's low down. I could cut, there's one there, I could cut it off here, keeping, you know, this upright structure around here, you know, in this section, keep as much of this branching as I can, but reduce the height of the tree back very short, and again, very baobab-like. And I think that would be good. That height would then suit kind of the rest of the cuttings around it, creating a bit of a forest, even though it's still in this giant pot. But so that's another possibility. I'll have to do some thinking, come up with my final decisions, and then start cutting. In the greenhouse here, I have plenty of other Jades. I have the one from Jock. It's getting quite large. It's not a small cutting anymore. I've got a few smaller ones over here, a Golem, Jade. I've got jade cuttings from Ashley here. I've got, what other jades? The ones from Scott Winard. This is the one from his original tree he sent me. And then he sent me a second tree, which is this one. This is a cutting off the arm size jade, the only part of it that survived. So I have that one. I've got the remains of my jade forest here, up front here. Yeah, so I have probably, what I'm saying is I probably have too many jades. So I think keeping them smaller, I can put all the jades in one section, is probably a good idea. I just know winter's going to creep up very fast, as it always does, and I'll be jamming all these trees into my plant room over the winter in the basement, and I always run out of room. So the smaller I can make my trees, the better. I also have my oldest jade. This was a cutting given to me by Hong. It's up there. It is over 25 years old, and I like keeping trees small. I have a lot of trees that are over 25 years old that are very small, and I kind of like that. They get all the character of a large tree, but they're still small and manageable. I promised Toby I'd give him an update on my lithops, so the one pot is doing really, really well. You can see them all here. They've expanded and are looking good. There's only one left in this smaller pot, and this pot, they all died, and I think it's just because I didn't water them enough. They were up on the top shelf here in the greenhouse. They were looking quite good, and then it gets really hot up here on the top shelf, and I just didn't water them enough, and I think they dried out totally and baked in the sun and died. But these ones, because they were up front, I misted them more, and I think they got a little more water, and it's a bigger pot, so they're doing quite well. So yeah, that's the update on the lithops. I'm ready to begin the work on the cutting from Connor. So I've got it on the turntable. I can rotate it around. So I think, you know, this first branch was cut off here, leaving a stub about this long. I think I will do a similar thing here. You can see the old bark. It's very crackly, and then it comes up to here, and that's about where the crackles end. So I could safely cut it anywhere here, keep my older part of the branch, and get rid of the top. So these cuttings I'll be taking here, or removing. I can't ship outside of, you know, Canada. It's illegal. But if you want this cutting and you're in this area, you'd have to stop by and pick it up. It's yours. Just let me know in the comments, and you can come by and pick up the cutting, and you've got this. You know, it does have some crackles at the back here, so it's quite a nice cutting. It's got a lot of age to it. It's very silvery. So yeah, if you're after a jade cutting and you can come by and pick it up in the Kitchener-Waterloo area, it's yours. Just let me know in the comments. So here I go. I'm going to pick a height here. I think I'm coming in right here. And I'm using the ratcheting pruners from Tom from Grow and Clip Bonsai from Seniors. He sent them to me, and it's from Ironwood Tools. So here I go, cutting off the top of the jade. Just like that. So that's a nice little tree right there. Okay, so that's one done. Now, before I did any cutting on this tree, I let the soil dry out. If you had moist soil and then you cut off all the leaves on the tree, you could get root rot down below. So it's best to let the soil dry out, prune your tree up, and then when you see all the new growth coming in, then you can start misting and watering it again. But keep the soil dry, especially after doing big cuts. And that's kind of applies to a lot of trees. You don't want wet soil. Take all the foliage off. There's no leaves up top to draw the soil out of the water, and you can get root rot. So that's the one big cut done. Let's do big cut number 2. So here's all the crackles at the back. They go up to here. So I think that's too high for our style. So I would say this one's cut here, that one there, I would say somewhere in about here. So, yeah. So I'm going to go right here. So here I go. I'll have to nib it away in sections. I don't have a pruner is big enough to cut the whole thing off in one go. So here I go. Okay, and then I'm going to I'll see if I can get in deeper now. Yeah, there we go. And a little bit deeper, and here we go. It's off. Oh, that is a nice cutting too. It looks very beefy when you cut it off. So there we go. There's two nice cuttings. If you want them, they're yours. So there's what I'm left with. A very, not real stubby, not like my other jade, but it's certainly reduced in height. I like the size much better, and I think once it starts filling in, it's going to look really nice. It'll be a different style baobab. Alright, so that's it for that tree. I'll rotate it around, and we'll go on to the cutting from Joey. Alright, here I go with the second large jade. And again, I've let the soil dry out. I didn't water it for quite a few days now. So again, I want that same kind of style, except this one has a little more upright branches, so I'll leave it a little taller before I start my subdividing. I can leave this one on. It's quite nice. There's one at the back here which is kind of growing to the inside. I may take that out. I think, up here this is too high. I need to prune it back lower. And also the subdivision on this one, it's just too high. So here I go. This is yeah. So I'll start with this front one. You can see the rings on a jade. If you cut between the rings, they usually die back to the end of the ring. So they're growing segments. So if you cut a segment in half, it dies back to the next segment. So keep that in mind when you're cutting. So I've got a segment here, so I'm going to prune just above that. I don't know if I want to keep that branch in. Maybe I can. I'll try it up here first. If it doesn't look good, then I can reduce it further. So here I go. Just like that. And again, these cuttings, if you're in the area, the Kitchener-Waterloo area, and you want some nice jade cuttings, let me know in the comments. And again, they're yours. So that's that one. I'll prune up the rest and then have a look at it, and if this is still too high, then might prune it back lower. So this one, I've got a ring segment here and one down here, so it's a very rapid growth to this tree. So I'm going to prune it up to the high one first, and then we'll see what it looks like. So here I go. Like that. And then back to this one. So this one, I've got a segment here, one here. I think I'll prune it to the upper one. We'll have a look at it. So here I go. Like that. These are really heavy. All these leaves are full of water. Okay, so let's go back to the front now. And I'll come out front and I'll have a look at it and just kind of put my hand over and see if this is too upright for that kind of baobab style. If it makes the trunk look too tall. I'm looking at the tree from out front. I don't like the center branch being between the two angled ones at the back. I think it looks too crowded. There's no negative space at all. So I would have to change the front. So I'm going to rotate it around and see if I can find a better front for this tree. All right, let's have a look. So the thickest branch or upright trunk is this one. So maybe that one needs to come forward. It's not a bad view from here. Let me just mark that. So I've got to stick in marking this front, which isn't a bad one. I'll show you that. That's about there. Kind of gives a little space between these branches, at least for now, until they thicken up. That's back to the front. This isn't too bad either. I'll mark this one. It's quite reasonable. So there's that one. It's kind of the opposite view. So again, you can see some space between those branches. I think these two branches or trunks are about the same thickness. There's not much difference. So this one might even be thicker. So I think in this view, it is the thicker trunk is still coming forward, which looks quite good. Back to that view. That view. Or this view. I think those are the only two views that I'm happy with. You know, this view right there, or this view. Kind of get some space in here. So I've just got to determine which of those two views is the better. And it might be, you know, depending on the trunk lean or the branch structure. So let me have a look at that. Maybe the scarring on the trunk. As far as scarring on the trunk, I do have a scar here. So from this view, you see this scar. From this view, there's a scar back here off to the side, which isn't very noticeable, but it's there. But this is definitely the cleaner trunk line in this view. It's more scar-free, so I'm leaning towards this view as the front of the tree. I think so. I think in this view, you know, you see this lower trunk line starting down below these other two. So I'm going to use that as the front, right there. I'm pulling this one out. So that is the new front of this tree. So I'm going to come out front once again, look at it from the new front, and see if I need to prune these branches shorter or what I have to do. Here's a look at the tree from the new front now. And the foliage on the inside just clutters that area up, so that would have to be removed. The foliage on top kind of goes towards the back. And that other branch, you can't really see it. If I rotate it around a bit, you can see it, but from that view, you can't really see it, which is a bit of a disadvantage. In the other view, you couldn't. You could see a little more, but they're kind of in line with each other in both of these views. So I think, you know, it'd just be a case of pruning that one back, and it kind of would just be a branch to give some depth to that. You know, eventually it's going to get a branch structure up here. But I've got to determine, is it too high, those branches? Do they reach up too high before they divide? They are quite high. It might look less like a baobab and more like a conventional tree if I leave those on, because, you know, off of here there's going to be more branches that extend up, and it's going to be quite a tall tree. So I'm thinking I cut back further, at least back to the next ring, and this tall one, maybe pruning that branch off and just reducing it back also. It's pretty drastic, but like I said, I've got to make it compact, and I like that style. It really suits the Jade to have that big fat trunk and the short height. It's a good style for a Jade. All right, it's time to cut it back further. So I'm definitely up on this branch. I definitely have a small branch here. I'll have to prune it back for sure. It's just too tall. Let's start with the other ones first. So I'll get this This one I'll reduce back to this segment. I'll just cut just slightly above it. So here I go. Like that. The other one, I'm going to take it back from this segment down to here. So I'll take that off. Like that. Then the back one, or the front one, or whatever it is, right side one. I can take it back. I have a segment. This branch comes out just below this segment, so I could take the top off, so I will. Another cutting. So there's that. I think that's a good height, but do I need to take that branch back? Probably not. If I were to cut that branch back, I could take it from this segment up here back to here and then sprout new branches, but I think it's okay. I will reduce it back in size, so I've got some leaves coming off here. I can take the tip off that branch, make it a little more compact, like that. I've got one coming out the front. I can take the tip off that one. I'll use a different tool. Yeah, I was going to cut this one here, maybe even right here. Take that tip off. I can go a little bit lower. There. I'll take this leaf off on the inside here. And then this one I can take back also. And I'll take it back to here. Like that. So that's reduced it down in height quite a bit. So you're looking at the front view now. And then I think I've got to take this one off the inside. It's just going to clutter up this area. So off it comes. Like that. And I think that has got it pruned back. Sure does. I'm going to take this vertical one back even further. I don't want it becoming too dominant, so it comes off there. Yeah, that's it. So all the other trees in the forest are doing very well too. I don't think I need to really do any pruning at this present time. This is the tallest tree here. Looks just fine. I could take like maybe the tip off and that's about it, so I will. Just, you know, to get it a little reduced and a bit of branching happening. Like that. Okay, so that is it for the Jades. Quite a reduction today. So I'll keep them fairly dry until I get new growth coming in, and when the new growth is looking good, then I'll give it its first watering. That could be 2 or 3 weeks from now. So all these cuttings, you can see how they're green on the end. So you need to let these dry out for, you know, a week, sometimes 2 weeks, till they skin over and they'll get this kind of bark color on them, this light tan color. And once that's happened, you can plant them, and you don't really need to water them until you start to see the leaves shriveling or the branches shriveling a bit. Then you know they need water, and then you can water it thoroughly, and it should grow quite fine. Here's a look at my oldest Jade, and I got Manuela to prune this up, and this is a good example. You can see on this branch there's a segment on top that's dried up, and it just falls off. Right here too, you can see there's a segment up top. You just brush it and it falls off. So that's, you know, a good example of it drying back to the next segment. You can see on this branch I have some new leaves just starting to grow in. There's one on that side and one on the opposite side. This one has a new leaf on top. Some of them don't, like this one has no growth on it yet. This one doesn't have any growth on it yet, and this one doesn't also. So, and this one, well, this one is starting. It's got a little bump there and on the other side, so that's starting. So yeah, it takes a little while for the new growth to come in, but it will. So you can see on this one, it's an old jade. It has that silvery bark on it, which is, you know, part the exposure to sunlight and the age of it. And then as it gets even older, that paper thin bark starts peeling off, and you get a really nice kind of bark effect on the trunk. So this tree is being potted up in a pot made by Ray. So it looks really nice in this pot. And I'm hoping, you know, once again, that it will flower this winter. So that would be really exciting. So we'll see. If you cut a jade back like this really hard, be sure to keep it out of the rain. You've got to keep it in a greenhouse or under cover in a sunny window. You've got to keep the soil on the dry side until it starts growing once again. Here's another update. It's not a succulent, but it's looking really, really cool. This is my accent plant I had for my ficus at the Toronto show. And you can see the moss has grown in like clumps, and they look like trees with the mountains in the background. I think it's a really cool look. So there's the size of my finger. So you can see, you know, this whole planting is just a couple of fingers high. But it's, yeah, I thought I'd show it to you while it looks so awesome. Maybe Cherry Chi would really like this. So that's it. And this is in a 3D printed pot and a 3D printed stand. So I just love the look of it. It looks like a forest from Avatar or something, a tropical rainforest with mountains in the background. Yeah, a really cool look. I'm really enjoying my succulent Sundays. I think succulents in the world of bonsai is, you know, hasn't been explored fully yet. I think there's a lot of succulents out there that could make really nice bonsai. And I hope in the upcoming episodes of Succulent Sunday we'll be exploring new species, trying out new techniques, and trying to create beautiful succulent bonsai. That's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.